Then 2 years ago we added the third tier of the south stand and we added a further 1,000 seats around the edge of the pitch. That took us up to 55,000. Now, currently, emphasis on the currently, we are still the fourth largest in the Premier League behind Manchester United, Arsenal and West Ham. But come November or December or January, or when Tottenham Hotspur finally decide we're going to open that stadium, stop faffing about with everyone in the Premier League, we will then drop down to fifth. They will then become second. However, we do have permission to do what we've done to the third tier on the south stand, up onto the north stand. That would take us well above 60,000 seats, and it would mean we would also be able to go to the Champions League final day if we were given the opportunity to do so.
Hopefully one day you'll be able to play it.
Feel free to take a seat. If you don't want to sit in front of the seat with the shirt on, then feel free. Before about Champions League, so the reason we would be able to hold a final here is not just because of the 60,000 capacity, it's also because when we've remodelled this whole area, we've made sure that we've basically hit all the criteria for UEFA. So I told you that Tunnel Club was 12 months old, but so are these changing rooms, home team, warm-up areas, and the home and the away team dressing rooms as well. So these are big enough, they are UEFA standard sized changing rooms, and these are exactly the same size as the home team dressing rooms. Now when you walk in, you probably won't think it, because the home team seems a lot bigger, but by square footage, get your tapes out, whatever you want to do, trust me, it's the same size. The only difference is, in here, it's grey, it's a bench, imagine all these shirts down that are adding a bit of colour to the room, because it does, but it's just pretty miserable when you walk in here, when the kit man comes in the day before or the morning before. before the game, he'd be walking into a pretty empty room because we take all of this out because we don't have to provide the away team with anything. So, like I said, they're big, much bigger than a lot of away team dressing rooms in the Premier League, as shown by All or Nothing. You see a lot of the away team dressing rooms in the documentary, and they just prove how nice ours are compared to a lot of them as well. So we tick all those boxes for UEFA though, because we have the toilets and the showers, the warm-up area and the treatment room are all to the same standard. That's the most important thing. If two neutral teams came here, they would have the same facilities. About 3 or 4 months ago, we had Argentina and Italy that came and played friendly here. The Italians were in here, the Argentinians were in the home team dressing room, and that was the reason why we were able to play that game, because all the facilities were the same. So a lot of places don't do that, that's why they can't hold different games. But that's one of the main aims, that when City remodelled this area, we wanted to be able to tick on those boxes and do lots of things as well. We also provide the away team with a television. Amount of performance analysis that's being used in the game today, using laptops, videos, images and stuff like that to communicate with the teams before half-time, after the game and so forth and so forth. That's the reason why we provide them with a telly and a single HDMI cable to connect to the laptop. The other thing while we're in here as well that are important, the buzzer, this little grey area here, and the clock up there. So in here, we would have a minute-by-minute countdown to kick-off, basically. So the Premier League, FA Cup, Carabao Cup, Champions League, all provide a minute-by-minute countdown. So last game, it's Manchester City versus Newcastle United, and then from about 4 o'clock was when the teams would have arrived at the stadium. So from there would have been a minute by minute when they needed to be in these changing rooms, when they needed to be out warming up on the field, back in, changed, ready in the tunnel, so forth, out for handshakes and so forth and so forth. So probably with 6 minutes to go before the game, so what was it, it would be 5:24 last week, and the players would have to have been ready, lined up with the mascots and the referees ready to walk out, to do the handshakes, to get all the, if they've got any training kit on that they need off that's not for the game, like City do, they go out in their jackets, to take them off, line up and kick off bang on 5:30. Same with every type of game that we play. Fabulous. Okay, so this is a very impressive one. That one's next door. The reason we show you this one is because this is very unused. So for any game or an opponent that City are playing, they would not be allowed in here, because in the rule books we do not have to allow a playing team an indoor warm-up area. They have the pitch to go and do their 25-minute, half-an-hour warm-up. Souls leaks from the seats to the stands. A great reference to football, not just City, not just United. The whole of Greater Manchester and Manchester itself, all the teams, football teams, sporting teams were very... weights around his ankles, he'll do a slow 10-minute cycle just to warm up all those areas with having injuries in the past. It's kind of just taking that precaution to make sure that he doesn't get any amount of pressure. So that's good that he's taking those precautions before the game. Now, the mats here, Sergio Aguero likes to grab one of these mats, and he does a mental warm-up compared to David Silva's physical warm-up. He likes to do some yoga and some meditation before the game, get himself into the zone. That's his way of doing things instead of, I don't know, kicking the ball. What they do for warm-ups, if I'm totally honest, but they'll either warm up on the bikes or they do the balances and so forth and so forth. But the weights at the back are usually more for the substitutes after a game. If they haven't played any time, they will be used just basically so their body gets some exercise as well, because they've not been running around for 90 minutes like the other 11 players in the squad have been doing as well, even more as well. The way managers can also progress, your cloth of death that they're not being So something as simple as bottles of water lined up at half-time ready for them to grab, as well as the energy drinks provided as well, but these kind of things. So they've got like gluten-free energy bars and chewy blocks. It's probably the best I can explain it really. Whatever they need that's going to give them that extra boost to go and run around for another 45 minutes. The fridges will be stocked up with everything that the players need. The nutritionists work every single day with the players, so they know exactly what they need in the build-up to the game as well. The two televisions just behind you guys there are very, very important. They're the performance analysis team's desks and TVs. So from the third tier gantry, which I'll point out when we go to pitch side, is where the performance analysis guys have a camera that is doing a live feed of the pitch. Now, the performance analysis team need a full picture of the pitch to be able to do their analysis. Unlike on pretty nice. Would you say they're the same size as the U18? Looks bigger, doesn't it? Simple reason is that's a rectangle, this is a circle. That's the only difference. They are exactly the same size. They've got comfy seats, they've got bright lights, and it's nice and blue as well, which is the important thing. So the great thing about it being a circle is the fact that Pep's voice can be amplified throughout the room. So no matter if he's stood here with his board doing his tactics, or whether he's turned this way, can you still hear me as clearly? When he's facing the board and he's doing his performance analysis, his voice is able to be heard by every player. But the other thing as well is, being stood here, whether he's looking at Company or Aguero, out the corners of his eye you can always see what Claudio Bravo and David Silva are doing as well. So no one can hide. The other way I can explain that no one can hide is because even if someone wanted to have a conversation with Phil Foden over there, these doors can be opened. Probably the worst person I could have stood next to and done this because you've got a baby in your house. However, they can be pushed back. Now that is the simple fact that you probably wouldn't think about it as something as so simple as it stops them from not being able to talk to each other. So by having that little thing where they can be pushed back so everyone can still talk to each other was something that was really thought about. The tiny little things that were thought about in every process of having these new changing rooms built. They also have safes behind their backs to be able to put their belongings in, so nothing happens to them. We had a player called Mario Balotelli that likes to mess around with a lot of his players' things, so that's the reason why I've got saved. But yeah, he was a character and a million, weren't they? But yeah, it's little things like that that were thought about in the process of building these. And the other weird thing is as well, if you get an opportunity to taking photos, come and stand in the middle here on the Lancashire Road. Because in here, accidentally, by the way like this has been built, there's actually an amplifier. So none of you are going to believe me because I sound exactly the same to you as I did stood over there. But to me, it sounds really weird because I can hear my own voice and I don't like it, so I'm going to move. But if you get a chance, go and stand on the roads and say your name and you'll be able to hear, or say a word, Man City, whatever you want to say, but you can hear the difference. So if Pep's over all the loud players, you can go and stand there and actually have a second to think about what you're saying. Through the doors over here as well, you're able to go and have a look. CFA as well, that goes to around minus 130. We had City and Guardiola and the team had to have a school register of every single player, and the one name was always ticked last was Yaya Torres, without a doubt. This is the man that's 34 years of age and looks like he does, like that, and he's scared and a bit cold. Absolutely baffled, mate. Absolutely baffled. But no, great guy. So yeah, that's very impressive that we're able to have that. Obviously, that's something that we don't have in the away team dressing room. I think that's the only difference that maybe you could quabble at if it was a neutral game in here. If you want to go around and have a look at the treatment room, feel free to do so as well. You can see that one's a bit lighter and brighter than the one in the away team dressing room as well. Always sticks to his foot. And Benjamin Mendy's never off his phone as it is anyway, so putting him next to Bernardo Silva definitely would have been a bad idea. So Pep was smart in what he did with that, and so that's the reason why he picks the places of where I want to place it as well. And especially to have the likes of David Silva and Bernardo Silva between three young players like Brahim Diaz, Phil Foden and Sandler, then it's just it's another great thing in the learning curve for these young players when they're in the changing rooms as well. Does anyone have any questions? We are good. If there is anyone that really isn't a blue. So we'd have home team this side, away team this side. You're gonna have to go up there, you know you are. You've got the shirt on, you need to be on this side. Anyone else? They're about to walk out to 55,000 fans. They've got millions watching on TV. They've just had the talk from Pep before the game, so he wants to do them to do this, this and this to be able to win the game. Do they want to do something of their own? Do they want to score a goal? Do they want to defend a goal? Go, you know, Edison, he's part of the team. Save a goal. Pretty simple, isn't it, really? But there's a lot of pressure. You've got fans on each side of this glass taking photos, staring in, doing whatever people do on the other side of this glass. So they've got a lot of people with eyes on them. So they've got to keep quite cool, calm and collected, which is pretty hard to do, I would imagine. I wouldn't like to have that pressure on me anyway. But we're going to walk out to pitch side. If you are going out, I do ask you please don't touch anything green. The technical area is fake grass, so you've probably all felt AstroTurf before, so there's nothing too exciting about it. Left-hand side is the... your left, yeah. Left-hand side is home team, right-hand side is away team. If you do, I am going to take the cover off Pep's seat as well if it's not too wet, so you might get an opportunity to sit and not get absolutely drenched while you're in there. Okay, wait there 2 seconds. This is the best bit. If you're not impressed, then you should get it. Right. Are you ready? Don't look ready. You're not ready? Right, that's it. Good job. Good job. The little camera on the corner of it, that camera is linked up to our main groundsman, Lee's phone.
Oh yeah. Wait, taking corner there.
Okay guys, just be careful of the balls on anyone hits. One floor below the players, so you're constantly within this area of the players. That's the steam of being in Tunnel Club Premier. But the one thing is, there is 5 layers of soundproofing in that wall so that you cannot hear the players. Purely because they play their music that loud before the game, and knew this when they were building it. They wanted to make sure that the people down in Tunnel Club Premier couldn't hear whatever they were blaring in the changing room, which I think is quite a smart idea, to be honest. We have our wine tasting in the corner over there, so you can go and see the sommelier, see what wine goes best with your meal, whether that's a glass or a bottle, depends on what you're feeling. We have our gorgeous bar here, and this is just like my favourite little bit of Tunnel Club, it's so cute. And then the boxes in the corner over here. So, Chelsea, March, last season, bear in mind March, it had been raining and snowing for a good month. We had one of the big department stores in, and that was full of Gucci sunglasses, ready for when the people came in to just go up, have a browse. If they wanted to purchase it, they could do it there and then. and so forth and so forth. We have 66 boxes that run round the second tier, and one of them, and two of them that people are always interested in. One of them is the EA Sports one. So if the football on the pitch is boring you, which it really shouldn't be, you can go inside and play FIFA, facing against the wall, so not even facing out on the pitch, facing the wall. So people do genuinely go in there, but before and after the game, not while it's on, so it's a bit stupid. And then the other one is the Harvey Nichols box, so a bit like over there. If you like something, Harvey Nichols box, and you see it before half-time, before the game or something like that, you don't have it in the size or the colour that you want it in, they can order it to the store in Manchester. They can have it delivered, gift wrapped, and put in your box by 90 minutes. Whole different world down here. Whole different world. I'm quite content with my pie and a pint over in the East Stand. That keeps me happy every day, so I'm absolutely fine with that. But it's fabulous down here. There's no denying that. This is kind of like one side of it. So follow me this way. We'll have a look at why the other side of it. So whereas the other side of the tunnel club is quite high, quite spacious, round here it's much more enclosed, it's a bit cosy around this side, and you actually get the full length of the glass on this side to be able to see the players walking out, because you don't have a box on this side. So if you're an away fan down here, it's perfect, because you get to get upright and close to your players on this side as well. But the other great thing about this side is you get the media included with this side. So this first box here would be whoever's broadcasting, whether it be Sky or BT, their interviews that they're doing with the players and the managers, both home and away. Middle one would be BBC for their match of the day interviews, and then the end one is always for City TV. They can grab the players after the game if they want. We'll always give the away team a box as well to be able to do interviews in there for their social media, and sometimes there's maybe just a general Premier League one in there or whatever competition we're playing in, so there's lots of different areas for the interviews to happen. However, the blind being down in the City TV one is kind of a perfect example of it, because that can also happen in the other two. If a manager or a player doesn't want to see their interview, if they don't want it to be seen by fans in here, they can actually request it for it to be pulled down. However, we only know that there's two managers that have done that. One was Jose Mourinho, one was Jurgen Klopp. Now, I'm intrigued whether Jurgen Klopp's was after when we beat them 5-0 or after the Champions League, so I'm not too sure. But I'm quite intrigued, I must admit, I'm intrigued. But yeah, they have the opportunity to do that as well, just for privacy or whatever other excuses. The other thing as well... Come on, let's look at this. On one side, but obviously we have our Premier League sponsorship deals up here as well. So this is the mixed media zone, so a bit like the hydrotherapy pool that I told you about earlier, the players are required to walk through here. They don't have to speak to the media if they don't want to, but they do definitely have to come down the tunnel, walk through here, and then they can go and get the cars from the service tunnel that have been brought over from the CFA. So that's all they have to do. This is where your radio, newspaper, social media, maybe smaller TV companies would be in here to try and get an interview with the players, because they can't use the bigger ones in there because they're for the main broadcasters and so forth and so forth. So we make sure that they have this area so no one misses out on getting an interview. And one person that we probably want to get an interview from is the man of the match. Does anybody want to have a photo with it? You're not going to want a photo with it because you won't smile. See, you're smiling now though. See, I got one out here. So, oh, there we go, right, that's my talk complete now. Does anybody want to come and have a photo? Right, volunteer number one, that's what I like. The wall place beyond is press conference room, so come through. It's his favourite man to see. But this is the post-match press conference room, so this would always be after the game for the managers. The pre-match would always be done over at the CFA. That's more like a lecture theatre, has big screens behind it, a bit more techie than the one over here. But that seats 110 and this seats 105. So for the Premier League, you're looking at maybe 30 to 40 journalists that are being here after a game. For a Champions League game, probably pretty much full. More interest from Europe in general, more interest from the national papers, and wherever the team is. They're journalists that have come over, so obviously we've got German, French, Spanish. Thank you. Spanish. I'm so glad you just said that because my mind went absolutely blank. Champions League, we've got those 3 different nationalities who will be coming over here to be able to have their journalists over here as well, which will be great because Pep actually speaks 4 languages fluently, so he speaks Spanish, Catalan, English and Italian. Now, the German questions, he'll probably have a general idea of what's going on and maybe not answer in German, but he'll know what they're saying. So that's why he'll have a translator up here with him. Spanish, obviously, it'll be absolutely fine, and then French, once again, he will have a translator to be able to translate the questions and be able to answer back in French as well for them. So, but the other person that he'll always have up here as well is his press officer. So they have a really vital role of making sure that the press aren't being too pushy on the manager, asking maybe either too many questions or questions that make him feel a little bit uncomfortable. They have the power to say, he's not answering that question, you can't ask any more questions, or even to the extent of asking them to leave. One that I always remember is just before Sir Alex Ferguson retired, he had that press conference where beforehand the press officer has said, with this subject, please do not ask any questions. Sir Alex doesn't want to answer any questions, it's up to the club, so forth, so forth. Well, there was always going to be that one journalist that was going to push the barrier and did so. Well, he wasn't happy with it, that was it. The press officer said he stood up, got out, a bit like Jose Mourinho's been doing recently, but he stood up, got out, and that was it. That journalist wasn't allowed to come back to Manchester United, which is crazy that I'm talking about our rivals, but it's a really good reference to what would happen in here if the same happened to Guardiola. So they do have the power to do that, taken very seriously. But the press, to be honest, they get treated really well here. You saw the seats where they sit upstairs before with the little television screens and the comfy seats. They get a press lounge, so they get fed and they get watered as well, so they get everything pretty much for them. They can come and sit in here 2.5 hours before the game. I think it's about an hour and a half after the game as well, while they're writing up the reports and so forth and so forth. So there's lots of stuff that's always going on in here. But the one thing that's probably the craziest is when we play in the Champions League. So if we play on a Wednesday night in the Champions League, UEFA will basically send a team in on Monday and they have to cover up anything that is a non-Champions League sponsor. So pretty much everything on here isn't Champions League. So this is basically a big piece of cloth. So they just bring some boards, they put them up and easy, done. You'd think it was as simple as that. However, no, they make everything hard for themselves. So, best way of explaining it, the television up there, you see the black bit of tape that's on the bottom? That's because it's a Samsung TV and Sony sponsor the Champions League. So even though the cameras sit at the back on the stage there and are never going to get a glimpse of that Samsung TV, they've still covered it just to make sure that Sony's rival would never be on telly while it's here for a Champions League game. Same with the City badge, just on the bottom here. They cover this one up that's on the desk. Out in the stadium, where it says Etihad Stadium, the Nike tick, the little City emblem, they're all covered. So they will have none of it. And if you might have never noticed, but whenever we're on BT Sport for the Champions League, they will never refer to the stadium as the Etihad Stadium. Will either be the City of Manchester Stadium or the City Ground or something like that. I think it changes. I don't know. I'm not 100% pretty sure it's City of Manchester Stadium they refer to us as, but because it's a sponsorship, same for Arsenal as well, with them being the Emirates Stadium, it would just be the Arsenal ground or something like that. So it all changes. Obviously, White Hart Lane not going to be White Hart Lane, which is a bit crazy, but they'll probably be referred to as White Hart Lane in the Champions League. But yeah, it's quite intense. We like playing in the cup, so there's a reason we abide by all the rules that they give us. So we give them the keys on a Monday, and then they'll come the next day after the game, and they'll rip it all down, and then they'll probably be back a week and a half later because we've got another game in the Champions League here. So it's a bit crazy to be honest, but we do it because we like it. Any questions? This is our last stop today, so if you do have any questions, throw them at me. No? Yes.
So why does City not have any Champions League sponsors?
Any Champions League sponsors? That's just their decision. So it's something as simple as, I'm trying to think of one on here. So Marathon Bet is an English company, but it might be a different company that would sponsor the Champions League. It's just their preference on maybe who does the best deal with the club. That makes sense. Yeah, but they have lots of European companies like Gazprom and so forth, and they're just ones that the Champions League decide to have as sponsors. Good question. Can I ask a question? Does anybody want to hazard a guess as to what this desk used to be before it became the press conference desk? Any guesses? It used to be the old reception desk at Main Road. They just did it up a little bit, and then it became the press conference desk. So we have this, and we have the little memorial garden upstairs, which are like our little pieces of Main Road that came with us to the Etihad Stadium. So it's a nice little added thing. Other question: can anybody remember my name? I loved it. This one.
Francesca.
Thank you. Yes. See. There's always one that pipes up at some point, even if it is the Tottenham fan. All right, if anybody wants to come up for a photo, then please feel free to do so. If you want guys, so not everyone gets absolutely drenched when we go outside again if it is still raining. We're going to head straight over to the shop in the player profile area. If any of you have got your green screen photos that you want to have a look at or you want to purchase, be able to do them as well, or if you just want a general look around the shop as well. Yeah.